Good afternoon, League City. Happy Wednesday, and welcome to our Wednesday Facebook Live Lunch and Learn. Today's topic is all about money. It's about the fiscal year 2020 budget. And with me today, I have our budget director, Angie Steelman. Thanks for coming on. Appreciate it.
Sarah.
And joining us again, 2 times this week, John.
2 times, yes,
City
ma'am.
Manager John Baumgartner. So, John, we'll start with you. Council has had the first reading of our fiscal year 2020 budget. They'll do another reading in September. But for all practical purposes, we have a budget moving forward. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, we do have a budget moving forward. I'd like to back up a little
Sure.
bit and just kind of budget process and how it starts and evolves. And so, it's about a 6-month process, and it really starts with a strategic planning session in February or early March, where the staff and the council get together to make sure our ideas are aligned with the goals and objectives of the community, as dictated through the council. And so
Right.
we start with strategic planning. What are the important programs? What levels of service do we need to adjust? And so that process again starts back in February, March, and then we move forward through that. So Angie, her team, the rest of the staff works through the next few months on what's it cost to do business. How do we enhance the way we deliver public services? And so we've gone through that process, and so we've brought a budget forward to the council at the effective tax rate, which is the tax rate it takes to generate the same revenue from the same buildings.
So in
as the year
layman's
before.
terms, for a property owner out there, no property taxing increase. Yeah.
Obviously, every house is a little bit different, so appraisals go up and down. Some go up a little bit more, and in that case, there may be a small incremental change
Based on the value of your home, as it increases.
based on the value of your home. But the tax rate last year was 56.38 cents. This year, the tax rate is anticipated to be 54.86.
So actually lower.
It's more than
Yeah.
more than a cent lower, almost not quite a cent and a half lower per $100 of valuation. So that's that we think that's a good thing.
Yeah.
The total budget for the organization is $140 million for the operating budget. That's a big number, but that pays for police, it pays for fire, that pays for public works, recreation services, it pays for your water and sewer. And so we feel good about that. And then, the big focus, the big thing we have heard from the community, it's been pretty consistent the last few years, is, what can we do about mobility? What can we do about the drainage and the aftermath of Harvey? And where are we going with the bond program? So the bond program passed last May. Angie's team through project delivery has been ramping up and bringing engineering contracts forward. They always take longer than we want them to, but there's just a big focus on how to bring those projects forward, how to get the construction started, how to make improvements in our neighborhoods.
And that's all part of our capital improvement program. We talk about it. We call it the CIP for those you at home. It's our capital improvement program. And actually, Angie, you're over budget, but you're over CIP as well. So tell me a little bit about how a lot of that budget moving forward is for those CIP projects. Talk about some of that.
Yeah, absolutely. So when we talk about the budget as a whole, and we have the operational side that Mr. Baumgartner just mentioned, the 140 million.4 number. We also have the capital budget that's $110.82 million. So that takes care of a variety of projects, anything from water, sewer, the drainage. We also have a reinvestment program, streets, traffic mobility. Also parks projects are in there as well. And so it's a long list. Most of that is driven by master plans and the build out of the community. There's also the reinvestment program that targets maintaining our infrastructure. And then there's things like parks that's also driven by a master plan. Of course, we get a lot of different types of input, including the council, the mayor, and also citizen input from public meetings.
So a lot of projects moving forward, certainly bond projects, but we'll talk about some of the other things that are part of that budget. You talked about reinvestment, but any other kind of those capital improvement projects that work on that infrastructure?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have the reinvestment program, and when we mention that, we're really focused on the non-utility side of things, but also on the water and wastewater side of things. We reinvest anywhere from $1.5 to $2 million a year, sometimes as much as $3 million. Depending on funding levels and capability into what we have existing in infrastructure.
Talking about water, I'm going to switch over to you, John. A big part of budget is kind of this water agreement we're kind of about to sign here. Talk a little bit more about that, because I think a lot of
Yeah.
residents aren't quite even aware of what you've been working on for how many
Well,
months now? More years?
7 years.
7 years. Okay.
Years. So, when we had a water master plan done in 2011, 2012, and, it identified how much water we needed at build out. And so today we get about 25 million gallons a day of surface water. And ultimately we need 45 million gallons at build out. And so, where can you get water? So, we talked about getting it out of the Brazos River, which I believe is a little oversubscribed, meaning there's more people using it than there is in a time of drought water available. The Trinity, which is primarily controlled by the city of Houston. And, we even looked at desalination water, getting water out of Galveston Bay or the Gulf of Mexico. And, they're all very expensive. And we've, settled on an approach to acquire more water from the city of Houston. And so there's a pipeline across the ship channel that has so much capacity. We're not quite ready to build a plant, but we're replacing the line that serves League City that goes from the Southeast plant in Houston, just north of Ellington Field, down to League City. So we have to make a determination now, how big a line do we want? And so we're going to oversize that line to bring the extra water from the city of Houston down there. What comes with that is also a reservation of raw water supply. So we reserve capacity in the line across the ship channel. Ultimately, we're going to have to pay to expand the water.
And we're starting in fiscal year 2020. This budget starts the beginning of that.
So this is we have a water reservation agreement going to council, probably the last meeting in September, first meeting in October, and then the agreement to replace the line that goes from the city of Houston to League City. That's a $110 to $120 million project.
Wow.
Of which 60 million of that's the responsibility of League City. And that assures us of being able to get the water to the citizens as they need
Which is crucial to our sustainability and to our build out and growth.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And so that's that's a big part of the budget. The first payment's $10 million for the design. We'll have to go through design, land acquisition, and then construction. And so mostly we're a paying agent because there's 13 different partners in that. And we're actually GCWA, Gulf Coast Water Authority, is the contracting agency. Our contracts with them to deliver water, but we've been working hand in hand in a partnership with them to explore all the different options and to get a reliable water supply to sustain League City going forward to the future.
In addition to water, what are some other kind of big highlights of this budget?
I think one of the things council has tasked me with emergency services is maintain our response times. So we started a program. We had 3 ambulances on the ground a couple of years ago. We added a 4th ambulance, and in order to staff it, we started an incremental staffing, which was, to run an ambulance 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, you need 6 people or 7 people. And so we started with 2 people. Last year we went to 4. So this year the 4th ambulance will be fully staffed.
Oh, wow.
And we've seen ambulance response times continue to go down, and then while maintaining response times both in the police services as well as the fire services have stayed pretty constant. And so again, that was a big goal for the community, and you could see the need, and then you can see the results of adding that ambulance.
Absolutely.
Shaving off certainly most of a minute off of response times for that. The other thing, we hear lots about summer programs for the youth. We're going to add a West Side summer youth program so that
for our summer camps and everything.
So instead of just using Hometown Heroes, we're going to use a school on the West Side.
Great.
And we'll be able to double the size of that program. Those of you who use that service know that if you're not there in the first hour or 2, that program.
If you're not online literally an hour before it opens.
10 minutes.
Yeah.
It fills up. And so again, our goal is to continue to provide world-class customer service. Council has approved about 20 new positions. Some of those were the camp group, the 2 EMT paramedics for the fire safety, and then just additional support for a lot of the different programs that we have. So again, project delivery is a big one.
Yeah.
And so we've added some support staff to help that program, so to free up the project managers to focus on project delivery, and then have someone else help us with sending information out to the public. Where are we? That's one of the criticisms we get. We work in our little shell, and perhaps need to improve some of our communication related to what's getting done
Yeah.
within that program. And so we've added some staff over there to help that. We've added a grant person, same thing to help.
It's great as we apply for more and more grants to
to
offset.
help us. Well,
Yeah.
and you got to manage those grants. So yeah.
Well, if you have any questions about the budget, now is the time. We have about 5 minutes left with Angie and John here, so please type in your question in the comment section. Angie, this is a pretty involved process. You are the budget master, and I have to say I've worked at a lot of places before, and the budget process here is so smooth. It's a great process, and you're working on it literally from the beginning of the year. What do you want folks to know about the budget moving forward?
A couple of things. First of all, thank you so much for the compliment. Second of all, the budget is not something that just happens in the summer.
Mm-hmm.
It is really truly a year-long process. So the department, gets started as John mentioned that the first part of the year we have that strategic planning, and then we take that message and the city manager delivers that to the department heads and directors and lets them know, here's our strategic plan. This is what we have been tasked with. And so they get that information and start not only looking at where they're at today, but what they need to do to either improve service levels, or maybe there's several times we have a recreation department where they'll bring forward a new program that they'd like to do, but they're great because they also bring forward the information on how it's going to pay for itself. And it also provides extra services to the citizens. So all of that process happens in April and May. And then we go through a lot of scrutiny.
Yeah.
It's behind the scenes. They have to bring it forward to me. We go through it. We make sure there's not duplications. We make sure that what they're asking for, they actually have the ability to spend. And then once it gets past me, it goes through another review process with the city manager.
And then he scrutinizes
He
it even
does.
more.
We go back over the information. And they have performance measures. They have goals and achievements. It's a lot more than just numbers. It's really a very large process. And so once we finish with the city manager, that's when we look at, property tax rates and where we think that estimated effective tax rate may be, or any other thing that the council has given us as guidelines to stay within. And once we put it all together, that's when we send out a proposed document, and that goes out first part of July. And then we start having workshops.
Right. That's what we've been
Lots of
doing the last
workshops.
couple months. Yeah.
We have anywhere from 2 to sometimes 6 or 8 workshops, depending on what there is to talk about. Big ticket items like health insurance, that always comes in at the last minute. We have to look at what does that mean? Can we afford it? Are our assumptions going to hold? And then that's when we, like last night, we had the first reading at the end of August. So now you've already gone from January to the end of August, and here you are in September, wrapping up, that final reading, and then talking about the tax rate and getting that adopted. And lo and behold, it's time to implement it because October is already here.
And that's when we'll officially adopt it, is in October then.
Yeah. And working with the departments for the implementation, that's a big process as well. Let them know what's in, what got approved, new people, new job descriptions, new positions have to be set up, new vehicles, capital replacement, what's going to get in the current fleet replaced. Those are all things that take a lot of attention to make those all happen for a big organization like ours.
And I want to give you more kudos too, because as we're wrapping up fiscal year 2019, which ends at the end of September, you guys just got an award. Tell me about that.
So that's the GFOA. That's the Government Financial Officers Association. They have a budget presentation award, and it basically sets a criteria of what all needs to be in your budget document to be not only a financial planning tool, but also to communicate with the public and let them know, and the departments as well, as what's in that document. And so it's our 12th year to receive that award.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Great
so as
staff.
we absolutely,
Absolutely
great team.
Yes.
So as we wrap things up here, coming to a close, about a minute or so left, what else do you want folks to know about the budget, John, that we haven't gotten to?
I think the draft budget, it's available online.
Absolutely, it is.
So public can take a look at that on
LeagueCity.com.
LeagueCity.com. And then I think you'll see continued enhancement in service delivery. If there's a question about what we do or how we do it, or you want something different, just please communicate with us, email, phone calls, etc. It's a great community to work for. We appreciate the support of the community through the bond program, and in through the funding of our budget on an annual basis. And so, it provides for lots of services. I think they're important to the community and make us great.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for joining us today, guys. To everyone out there, see you for the next Facebook Lunch and Learn every Wednesday here on Facebook at leaguecity.com.